Hey guys, I don't know how well this is gonna work for me to see comments, but we're gonna try. I guess everybody knows it's Sunday morning, so I'm dressed and ready to go to church. You hear baby goats in the background, and the reason is that we had a bit of a tragedy last night. We had a doe that had been on the same hay for a week now, but for some reason last night there was a weed in the hay that was poisonous. We don't know what happened, but all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, she bloated. And so that's why you hear a sad baby goat in the background, is because that was her mama. And so we got to have an impromptu butchering last night. I'm a little bit mellow this morning because of it. And but good morning Barbara. Can they hear me? I'm a little hoarse this morning, so I apologize for that. I probably should turn my phone around so that I don't have that little screen in the middle. But this morning I am up, the kids are up, and we have church here in a little bit. Hello Deanna, how are you? Robin, J Wolfcat. So I'm going to do a little bit of early morning spinning just because it's cold out here and I'm trying to keep moving. I have brought my my drum carder out here to the deck because we were taking photos of it. Catherine from Little Bits of Heaven Homestead. If you haven't read her blog, you should go check it out. Little Bits of Heaven Homestead.com. She was here for a week, so you're going to be seeing a lot of videos on what we covered here. We have some new rabbit hutches we're trying out. We have a new seed company we're trying out. The seeds we're trying out, we're trying to get some homesteading herb packages, like medicinal herb packages put together. And that's at Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and I'll try to get the link in. We're affiliating with her because she has so many seeds and they're such high quality. But we're trying to get together like a dyer's pack for dyeing wool from herbs, and then a medicinal pack, and then she has some packs that are for fall gardens and spring gardens. So we're trying to get all that up and going. And that's why Catherine was here for the week. So I can't see any comments if nobody's commented recently unless I touch the screen. So if I just sit here and jabber for a minute and don't answer any of your questions, it's because I cannot see your comments. And again, I am a little hoarse this morning. My soaping affair. She's from Sandpoint. How fun. Good morning. Having a hard time spinning and reading comments at the same time. I thought I was better than this, but apparently I'm not. Hey, Akshay Kumar. Hello. So I'm doing a Navajo ply with my yarn this morning because I have just one bobbin that needs to be used up. I had a little girl that spun the original single ply, and pardon me, and usually if the girls spin it, I get to come back and ply it. Yeah, I gotta turn my phone around. Sorry guys. Every time you ask me something, it's blocked. So let's see if I can turn it around so I can actually see what you're saying. I am in the off-grid cabin. And what you're seeing to my left, right here, is my wood shelf. It's the only real storage container I have left out here in the off-grid shed. What's the word I'm looking for? Off-grid shed deck. So this is my one storage place. It's where we put all of our wood storage. I hope that's better. I'm not really sure how well you guys can see. Is that better? So this is my like one untidy spot, and I had to park myself right next to it, didn't I? But I do love this wall. Kaya loves to use watercolors on wood. She also likes to do wood burning. And so when she makes me something, this is where I put it. Is it my entrance to the house? Because I love to just stare at it. So if you guys have any questions, you're welcome to ask me. Again, the reason I have a really sad baby goat out there is because we had a mama die last night. We haven't lost a goat in a long time. It's been 3 or 4 years, and she was the only goat we had ever lost. And so this is the second milk goat that we've lost. And there was nothing we could do about it. From the time we figured out something was wrong until she died was about 30 seconds. She had bloat, and it acted very, very quickly, faster than normal. My Soaking Affair said she can't wait to spin. Smallwood Homestead, hello, good morning, good morning. I'm kind of wanting to turn the off-grid deck into my little yoga space. Because in order to do yoga, I have to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and the girls aren't up yet. Getting started on homesteading said, is Mr. Dirt at the cabin? No, he is still working in Tulsa, and currently he has been offered more of a full-time position instead of the trial period, so we are still waiting anxiously to be reunited with him. So if you have any questions, make sure they're like in bold, because I am having to read it from a little bit of a distance. So here is my Navajo ply. That's what it looks like. Again, this is one that the girls spun, and I Navajo plied it for him. Oh, thank you. I am sorry for the loss of my goat too. Tyler Wood said, we lost one of our best milking goats suddenly just 2 weeks after delivering a buckling and doling. They're doing fine, but we were devastated. It's devastating. I let myself get very, very attached to my milk goats. The reason is I'm not going to butcher them. I'm never going to butcher my milk goats. They are on the property for life. And so with a lot of other animals, I will not let myself get attached, for one thing, because I don't want them to be close to me, because if I'm going to butcher them, I don't want them to think I'm their mother. It feels like betrayal to me. Farm Alarm said, will you have to bottle feed your goat kid? Yes, there are 2 babies, and we had them still on the mom. They were quite young, and we had them in a pen where we were feeding them hay instead of the pasture. And we think that's part of the problem, is that because it was hay from off our property, that we can't figure out if it was too hot, or if there was a weed in it. But she'd been on it for a week. There was absolutely, it wasn't like it was suddenly new hay, never been exposed to it, and all of a sudden she died. That wasn't the case at all. So yes, we will be bottle feeding. Well, the renters will be bottle feeding. They are their babies. We let the renters keep the babies and either sell them to pay for hay or keep them for themselves, unless they are genetics that we want to hang on to for ourselves. And it was my goat that died last night, my milk goat, out of the twins, so they still have theirs from those lines. So we may have to have I don't know what we're going to do about that. Because this is a line of genetics that I now no longer own, and I may need to purchase one of their goats from them in order to hold on to those genetics, because we had been even Steven, and both of us had those particular milk lines, but now my doe just died, and that's a bit of a problem now. So yes, the babies will be, sorry, I'm trying to adjust my spinning wheel, because I'm just starting a new bobbin, and it's it's pulling a little too hard for what I'm doing. Oh, thank you, Christy. I'm not crying yet. I have a tendency to get through the butchering. I found her as she died. We found her as she died. She had been crying for a little bit, but it was pretty normal because we weren't feeding her grain. We would go out to milk the other goats, and then when we milked the other goat, she saw that they were getting grain and she wasn't, and she'd cry. And so she was crying at a normal time of night when she was usually just complaining that she hadn't had any grain. And so she was just doing her normal thing. She was making noise. And then I'm like, that sounds really persistent. Why is she being so persistent? And now she sounds a little frantic. So I sent Paige out. And by the time Paige got out there, she was down. By the time I got out there, she was dead, almost dead. I ran back into the house to get my gun because it was obvious she was in pain. I thought she had broken her neck. That was what I thought. I thought she'd broken her neck because she was so limp and it just didn't make any sense how sudden it was. So I'd run to get my gun to put her down. And by the time I got back with the gun, she was already gone. So I just went back for a knife at that point. Bled her out, went and got the renters, and we got her butchered really fast. And so her meat was perfect. There was nothing wrong with it. And I'm trying to figure out why my bobbin doesn't want to draw. Come on, bobbin, draw. Every time I sit down at a spinning wheel, I get to get reacquainted with it, and right now I am frustrated that it is not drawing. I do not know why it is not drawing. There we go. Somebody said something about friendly baby goats. Let's see what they were saying. When you leave the kids with the mother too long, they never become very friendly with people. Bottle feeding is a regular practice after 2 weeks with our herd. The reason that we had them in there with her was because we had a glut of milk, and the renter was already bottle feeding baby lambs, and so it was just kind of one more thing. I don't like to leave them on for more than a couple weeks because I feel like it's hard on the mom's bags and teats. The kids can be quite rough on the big uddered dairy goats. But this time she had small teats. We already had way more milk than we needed, and we had been milking her out during the day, but then she started to reject them, so we just put them in together. And it's just yes, they don't get as friendly. These girls were pretty friendly though, but you're right, if they're not bottle fed, they're not nearly as friendly and human dependent as far as emotions go, Okay, let's see. Let's see. Okay, Robin Sal said, I recently tried oatmeal and honey goat's milk soap, and it's awesome. I know the show that Catherine and I just did, that's what it was about, was oatmeal soap. I haven't tried Catherine's soap yet, but we do have the recipe over on, I'm trying to remember if it's in Tar's book or if, usually Catherine puts her own recipe up too. Let's see. Smallwood Homestead said, I just found a local source just down the road from my house for raw goat's milk to make my soap with. Oh, that's awesome. Good job. All right, let's go all the way down because I'm not keeping up with everything. Hey, Liz, how are you? Getting started homesteading said, so sad, but at least it's not going to waste. Yeah, nothing went to waste. We went and put the intestines and the hide underneath some fruit trees. And then the bones we put into the backyard for the chickens to clean up, along with the cats. And they think that's quite a treat. I love how when I first started bobbin, I cannot get it to pull right. So frustrating. Good morning. Oh, Mother Many Horses is on. Hello, hello. Teresa Bergen said, not critical, but want to know for me. If you don't know what took her, is the meat safe for consumption? Oh, I know exactly what took her. It was bloat. And she bloated in like 15 minutes flat. She went from fine to dead. It could have been less than 15 minutes. And so it was bloat. If she had broken her neck, it also would have been just fine. And because I got there while she was still alive, her heart was still beating. She was unconscious, gone, but her heart was still going. And so I bled her out. And then before we decided to eat the meat, I did open her up and inspect her intestines. I inspected, and I knew, it was very obvious it was bloat, and bloat won't hurt the meat. It's just gases that have built up in there in the intestines, and they won't have touched the meat. So we opened her up, we got the intestines out before they exploded, and went ahead and butchered her. So yeah, she was perfectly fine to eat. If she'd sat there for 6 hours in the hot sun, of course that would not have been the case, and she would have eventually popped, and it would have been really gross. But I actually was going for my gun to put her down when she died. It was that fast, and I did think she had broken her neck because she'd been talking, she'd been calling in her normal way because she wanted grain, and then it got a little bit more. The tone just changed. And by the time Paige got out there to check on her, she was down. By the time I got there, she was almost dead. And by the time I got back with the gun, she was already gone. And then I went back and got the knife, and I bled her, and her heart was still pumping. She bled out really easy. The blood had not congealed yet, had not coagulated. So I knew that she was just fine to eat. But I did open her up and inspect her insides, just to make sure. And then we got her frozen, got her in the freezer within an hour after I bled her. It took maybe an hour, maybe not quite an hour to get her all cleaned up. It's a little tricky with bloat because you already have to be super careful when you're butchering not to nick intestines. Yeah, Christy Beth said you basically did a necropsy and it was bloat. Well, and I already knew it was bloat because her belly was so hard when we got there. At first I thought it was her neck just because of how fast it was, but then once we started to kind of look at her and say, was it really her neck? I thought that she'd stuck her head through the fence and then just pulled back at a weird angle at first because she just was gone so fast. Susie Mack said, considering you have lots of health issues and food allergy issues, I'm surprised you would eat something that died from it. I knew what killed her. There was no question about it. It was bloat. There was no question. It was bloat. And we had a new source of hay that she'd been eating for a week and didn't seem to be giving a problem. And then for some reason, whether she got the bale that they had just opened had more alfalfa in it than normal, or there was a weed. But because I removed the intestines, there was no meat contamination. Anything that would have been poison would have been in the intestines, and the intestines did not come in contact with the meat. We removed the intestines. How old were her babies? Her babies are at 9 weeks. Is that right? 9 weeks. They were born the last couple days in April. So not even 9 weeks. They've got a little bit to go. Because it was April. Yeah, they might be. They're coming up on 9 weeks. Okay, Little Shepherd Farm said, so sad. Sorry to hear about her going, Julianne. I know you love your animals like we love ours. Yes, it was, the first time it happened, the first time I lost a milk goat, it was more traumatic because I'd only ever, I was incredibly attached to my milk goats, and I hadn't ever had to butcher one before. And, that one, it was a dog. And, she was gone when I got there. And I felt like if I had come out, I mean, we had checked her just before she died. With all of these goats had been checked just before they died. It was one of those freak things where there really literally was nothing we could do about it. We had checked them. They had food and water. Everything was good. It was something normal. It was a normal day. And, yeah. Why does it keep not scrolling? Okay, Teresa said, oh, wait. Hi, Snap Vegan. How are you? Tyler Wood said, all our herd gets to graze, but one developed a consistently foamy mouth, not serious, turned out to be zinc deficiency. One dose fixed the problem. Go figure. Yeah, and I had one goat that she was out in the rain one night. She didn't get into her shelter. And it affected her rumen to the point where, like, she stopped digesting things, and she had a little foam in her mouth, and she had a fever. We took her into the vet, and by the time we got her to the vet, she was just fine. But it was one of those, that was one of those times where I'm like, okay, I have some symptoms to follow. I'm worried she's not going to be okay if I don't do something. So we took her into the vet, and he put her on some, like, probiotics to help get her rumen started back up again quickly. And she was only under the weather for a few hours, but when I have signs, I take them into the vet, and I haven't been here a whole lot. We've been house sitting for my parents the last week, and the renter had been taking care of things, and she was doing a great job. It just so happened that I was here today, or here yesterday, when it happened, which was good, because otherwise the meat would have gone to waste. The renters wouldn't have known what to do. And so that was good. I'm going to tilt this down because I don't think you can even see the spinning wheel. Is that better? Oh, you still can't see it, darn it. So, and I think the longer you farm, the more you get used to this kind of thing, and you kind of guard your heart a little bit. Deanna said, hope you can get a new milk goat of the same bloodline soon. God bless your family. Thank you, Deanna. That is kind. With this particular bloodline, this bloodline is, we have one in our herd that is of the bloodline. She's her twin sister, but she belongs to our renter. What happened was we had the opportunity to buy these babies back, and I jumped at the chance because their mother had been my favorite milk goat. And the deal was is that the renter would bottle feed the babies, and in exchange she would get to keep one of the babies. And so we still have the bloodline in our herd, but this particular one, the breed, this particular goat had been bred to a very special buck, and her mother was my favorite goat. And so unless we actually bought that particular twin, we wouldn't be able to get that exact line, that exact combination. And it's a pretty good combination. They're given 2 quarts of milk every milking, and that's twice a day. Their first freshening, their teeth were quite small, quite short when they were first freshened, but now they've lengthened out really nicely. So on top of the emotional loss, it's a huge kind of homestead loss too. Thanks, little shepherd. Let's see. Tyler Wood said, what dairy breed do you prefer? All caps feel like yelling. I have Alpine. We had a really hard time finding good milk goats in the area that had consistent quality, really strong health, as well as open orifices and good flavor. So when we found these goats, they were the complete package, and we have not had any other goats in our herd besides this particular herd source. We've brought in bucks that are also from that bloodline, but have been bred in different herds. Does that make sense? So same bloodline, but more distant, same bloodline. Farm Elf Fanatic, hello. So we actually don't need any more goats right now. We have more than enough milk for our 2 families. We have 3 goats that we're milking. Susie Mack said it would have been nice if you could have pulled out the camera and shown this whole ordeal minus the butchering because of YouTube reasons. It would have been interesting, real life information, useful. You know, I struggle a lot to do that with births and also with deaths. I am processing my own emotions when it happens, and at the same time, it's kind of touch and go. I always think about grabbing the camera, and then in the end, I choose not to, because for one thing, what I choose to do is what I choose to do, and if somebody disagrees with it and feels like I took the wrong route, I should have done X before I did Y. It's for my consumption, it's for my renter's consumption, and what decisions we make when we're butchering or when we're delivering a kid kind of belong to us, and I don't want to give bad advice or advice that people are going to really be frustrated with. And I've been on YouTube long enough to know that when it comes to births and deaths, people can be extremely critical. And so I just decide not to expose myself to it. I've recorded a lot of it in the past and then had a lot of hate for it when I'm trying to show real life situations. And so now I just choose not to share it. Getting started on homesteading. Any animal that dies is hard on us for no. Yes, if you don't learn anything, as far as like if you can't really figure out definitively which one it was it a bad weed? Was it bloat from too much alfalfa? I need to save the animal. I'm not going to I'm not going to run it into the vet to have them cut it open when I could save the meat. And by the time I get it into the vet, it's too late. I knew there wasn't anything wrong with the meat. What I could do is I could take the hay in and have it inspected by like the extension, the county extension, and say, do you see any weeds in here that could be killing my goat? Or does it, or, you know, if there's no weeds in it, it means she really did just die from too much alfalfa, which really surprises me because we have a lot of alfalfa in our pasture, and she had been eating alfalfa for a week before this happened. Let's see. Robin's house said my adrenaline kicks in when delivering puppies. Would not be good at filming and always night or just bad timing. Isn't that true? Hey, Homemade Home, how are you? Tyler Wood said farmers and homesteaders eat what they raise. Others are called pet owners. Well, and I think to some degree with my milk goats, I am a pet owner as far as like I crave an animal that I know I don't have to butcher. And my dairy goats are one of those animals where it doesn't matter what happens. Those goats are staying on my property. I have a relationship with them that extends for years. And so with the goats, unfortunately, I develop a little bit of that pet owner. Honey, can you shut the door, please? Thank you. Hello, Mama McCoy.
There's something behind you I'd like you to put on my head.
You want me to what?
It's a necklace.
Oh, thank you. All right, so okay, Barbara Nelson said, are they safe to eat when they die from illness? No, not from illness. This goat was not sick. This goat died of a very, very sudden chemical reaction in her belly. The bacteria, when they get bloat, what happens is it just, the gases build up in their stomach very quickly. It's not an illness. It would be like if they died from hitting their head on something. It was very sudden. It wasn't an illness. It wasn't a bacteria. Hey, Honeydew Carpenter, how are you doing this morning? We both had losses yesterday. Honeydew Carpenter had a family loss yesterday, and I'm really sorry about that. We both had kind of hard nights, it sounds like. All right, Little Shepherd Farm said Tyler. Oh, never mind, sorry. Okay, Tyler Wood said, my wife Terry says that God made baby peeps cute so you will buy them, but makes chickens ugly so you can eat them. Isn't that awful? But it's true. I have butchered sheep, I have butchered cows, I have butchered goats, and if I know in the beginning that what I'm going to be doing is eating them, it's a lot easier for me because, again, I do not become connected. What I do is I generally raise those babies with their moms. Even with lambs, I rather they be on their mom rather than me bottle feeding them. I really struggle butchering animals that were bottle fed because we have a pretty strong connection at that point. And it makes me feel like I'm killing a puppy. And so if I know it's going to be a meat animal, I keep them on their mom and I do not bottle feed them. Claudia said, people don't want to face real life, so they hate anyone who reminds them of it. Well, and, you know, I used to be so careful in my first videos back in the day. I was so careful to show every little aspect of what was going on. Things when I was frustrated because I couldn't get chores done. If the kids did something super naughty, I would show it and the way that I dealt with it. We had rabbits in the beginning that died because we had tried too much forage and we hadn't left the free feed pellets in too. And when they're growing super fast at the beginning, they need a lot of protein. And we'd had some rabbits that died because of that. And I showed a lot of that ugliness, and then ugly people came out of the woodworks. And so I try really hard to leave it pretty, and I can like refer to it. But you kind of get tired of getting beat up on your channel, you know what I mean? Robert B said, great homesteading channel. What are you doing? I'm making Mountain Man biscuits and gravy now. Ooh, that sounds really good. I am spinning. I guess I could try and turn my camera, but I am spinning on my little, this is my little spinning wheel. And I need to learn to like turn the camera down this way so that you can actually see it. But I'm so used to needing it to be this way that I I forget. So this is what I've already done a little bit from this morning. This is one the girls made. It's a ply the girls made. And I just Navajo plied it to turn it into a skein. Mother Many Horses said, I've not butchered anything other than a chicken. I find chickens harder to butcher than goats or rabbits. I don't know how I'm a murderer, New Moon, being how I didn't actually kill her. I bled her after she had died. I was planning on putting her down because she was in enormous pain. When they bloat, what happens is their intestines expand to like 6 times their normal size. And so what was happening, when I saw what was happening, that she was really suffering and she was almost gone, I ran for my gun to put her down. And what happens with bloat is that it takes up all the space in their chest cavity and it makes it so they can't breathe. So it puts huge pressure on their lungs so they can't breathe, so they suffocate. And it can also give enough pressure to their heart that their heart stops beating. I mean, it's a huge amount of pressure. So she was in intense pain. And I was running to put her down when she died, but I just wasn't fast enough. I wish I had thought to, hey New Moon, so why not grow vegetables? I do grow vegetables, and we have a fruit orchard, and we have a lot of garden beds. I'm actually doing rotational planting right now. We have squash in. And what's really exciting is that this year we have peaches and mulberries on our fruit trees. We have apricots, plums, strawberries, raspberries, we even have blackberries this year. We didn't have any really hard spring frosts. And so all of our fruit trees are producing abundantly, which is super, super exciting. Farm Wolfmatic says, what does sheep taste like? It depends on how you raise it. With our sheep, it just tastes like sheep. Goats have a little bit stronger flavor than sheep. If you've eaten lamb or mutton from the grocery store, it does not compare to what you raise yourself. Our lambs get big enough nursing on their mom that we can butcher them at 3 months instead of 6 months. They get big very quickly. We have very good pasture. And so we really like our lamb. But again, I don't like to raise them as bottle sheep. I will raise them as bottle sheep if I have to, but I really, really don't like to. When I first started farming, I raised bum lambs, and so I have a very, very soft spot in my heart for sheep. And so my first choice is always to raise a mama sheep that raises her own babies. I am like a horror movie, my goodness. A horror movie. Which horror movie? The one that I like is Shaun of the Dead. Have you seen Shaun of the Dead? That one cracks me up. I think it's modeled after like Dawn of the Dead, which is a zombie movie. But Shaun of the Dead is incredibly funny. It's very tongue-in-cheek. And if I had a moderator on here, I would probably do something, but I do not have a moderator on here. Okay, does anybody know how to be a moderator? I would love to add somebody on. There's no way for me to block him, guys. It won't let me touch it from my phone. Yeah, Christy Bett said, mistakes sometimes teach more than successes. And unfortunately, that's true. When I was a kid, my second batch of bum lambs, I accidentally killed because I didn't listen to my dad when he said don't feed them too much grain. And so I killed them with bloat. And unfortunately, I didn't ever do it again. It only happened once. And it was enough. And as a kid, I definitely remembered. Oh, she sounds so sad. She misses her mama. Smallwood Homestead said, I got to get my wheel out later working on a baby blanket for my new grandson. How fun. Teresa Burgoyne said, being a mom does not come with instructions. We all just do our best. That is true. Hey, Let's see. Robin South said I would have to take cows to butcher since they have such pretty eyes. With large animals, I definitely struggle more than I do with things like chickens. Again, you have a lot of time into them. You have a relationship with them a lot of times. For the first couple years when we didn't really have a lot of money going, being made on the homestead, I butchered everything myself. I butchered the sheep. I butchered everything. And then when we had a little bit more money put together, the nice thing about the butcher was that they had like the bone saws and that kind of thing, the professional bone saws that would allow you to cut through the bone, as opposed to I have to cut everything at the joint when I butcher because I don't have a saw that makes it easy to get through bone, and so all of our roasts were quite large. And if we wanted smaller packages of things like lamb chops or pork chops, it was very hard to create them, and so that's why we started to have the mobile butcher come to our place, was because it actually saved us money over the long haul because we could get things in smaller cuts. Let's see, Little Shepherd Farm said, my wife was raised doing it when she was very small and it really got to her, so she hates the idea, but if I shoot something, butcher it, and cook it, she's fine. My girls have been raised with it, and I try really hard to have them not be too emotional when we butcher, but I also try really hard to have them be respectful. There's no laughing, there's no joking, I'm pretty serious when I butcher, and so I think there's a fine line between being really, really sad when animals are butchered and being too callous when animals are butchered. It is a fine line. And it's hard to walk that line. Oh, Terry said, I just received a set of combs ordered from your shop and I'm really enjoying them. Fiber processing is going so much faster now. Thank you. I am so glad. Aren't they amazing? We're actually getting the triple row combs for me and Catherine. We haven't been able to try them yet. And we're excited to try them. We tried the single row combs when they came in, and they were amazing. And I already had the double combs, but we're excited to try the triple. So I'm so glad they're working. That makes me so happy. All right. Teresa Burgoyne said, if you're going to be a homesteader, it is a tough job to learn. No one ever gets used to it. Yeah, I don't think you ever get used to it. I do know some people who I've watched some people butcher, and I've watched the pain of the animals that they're butchering, and that they don't feel any emotion at the pain of the animals they're butchering. And I think that is sad, but that's my own personal standpoint, is if you don't feel sad when you're butchering the animals, if you don't experience some kind of emotional, payment, you don't somehow emotionally pay for it a little bit, I think there's that, I don't know. For me, I always have an emotional time after butchering. It takes me some time to recover from butchering, and especially if something goes wrong and there's pain, I really struggle with it. Little Shepherd Farm said, I pretty much any animal if I'm hungry. I've even eaten snake and eel. Was going to try squid once, but was kind of freaked out when his tentacles were still moving and the guys were like eating them. Yeah, I don't eat living animals. I would struggle with that. Smallwood Homestead said, I grew up eating frog legs, turtle soup, fried snake. Petonia said, thanks for teaching Darwin what hugelkultur is about in your raised garden bed. Well, I'm excited to see if they decide to do that. I know that Darwin was planning on doing some panels. My Hare Creek garden is, I think, the prettiest bed that I have on my property. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's lasting really well. We've had cows and other animals get loose, and because I have the cage over the top of it, nothing has destroyed the bed. I don't think it's quite as tough and resilient as my big hugelkultur beds, because they're made out of wood, and they're just, something could bump into them and they'd be fine. I do worry about the Hare Creek bricks just a little bit because they're so light that if we did have a cow run into them, it would totally destroy the bed. But that would be the case for any raised bed. Any cow going through a bed is going to do that. And sometimes our neighbors' cows come across the fence. So that is a possibility that we might get to find out how tough Hare Creek is. Christy Beth said, I've eaten squid calamari, but it wasn't moving. And then Robert B. said, nice, thanks for showing your spinning. My wife and I have a large farm in Washington State. I run a hunting and a lodge on the side. It's great. Your channel is so family oriented. Keep up the great channel. Hey, thanks, Robert. That's kind. Let's see. Hey Farmal, I would if I could figure out how to do it. It won't let me connect anything when I'm here. So when the show's done, I will go and make you a mod. Thank you so much. Let's see. if it would let me. Okay, Barnyard Brit said we have a big issue with worms here in Texas. How often do you worm your goats and what brands do you recommend? So I use the worming from Fiasco Farm that's specifically for goats and it's herbal. We do not have a huge problem with worms because generally we're very dry and very cold. In the winter everything dies off. And we also do mob grazing, individual mob grazing because we put them on ropes, but it's in essence it's mob grazing because they're in a very small circle for a couple days and then we move them on, and so we don't put them back on that space till the grass grows back in a couple weeks. And yeah, so the wormer that I use is a once a week. You have the what's it called? It's what just gives them an immune system boost once a week, and then once a month there is the harder wormer that has wormwood in it, and it has black walnut in it, and that one is once a month, and it works really well. When we butchered this doe, we looked at her liver. She had absolutely no spotting. There was no she had no evidence of any kind of parasite problem in her intestines, and so we did inspect all that, but when we butchered her, and she was perfectly clean. We were really happy. But again, we generally have dry, cold. This year we have a lot of rain, which is nice. Thank you, Deanna. I appreciate it. I think that did help. I think that actually pulled him off. Thanks, Mel. I appreciate it. Okay. It looks like Mel took care of it. Okay, Mr. Big said, I remember maybe 2 hours ago when I started watching you, you were planting so many trees and stuff you ordered online. How are those trees and bushes in the garden? Okay, so the trees are my herbal wild crafting windbreak, and I got those from coldfarmstream.net, I think, and I love them. They're all bearing fruit this year. They've been bearing fruit for a really long time. The aronias are fantastic as long as you let them turn black and soft. The service berries are doing really well. Everything that we have is bearing really well. Even though in the beginning a lot of them died because I didn't have enough rabbit manure. Not last year, the year before last year, was it 3 years ago? Last time we actually were in our big house, I had geese. And what really turned the corner for all those trees was to have those geese among the trees. And what happened was that they would eat all the grass down, so there was no competition. They'd eat it down right around the trees without getting into the roots of the trees themselves. And then they would poop, and every time I watered, that poop would get washed into the soil. So that was really the turning point. It was 3 years ago, just before we left, and they are doing so well now. Everything has survived, everything is done well. And I love to have geese for that reason around orchard trees, is that they keep the grass down and they add their fertilizer. And I'm watering there anyway, so it leaves water for the geese to play in, and I fill up a pool for them there in the orchard so that they have water to get clean in. But it's a beautiful system, but because I'm here and gone and here and gone and here and gone, it's hard for the renters to keep up with all the systems. So we don't have geese right now, and the orchards would be better for it. But that's where I got them from, was coldstreamfarm.net, and I absolutely love everything that they put out. We even have mulberries this year, which it's too cold here. We're a zone 3-4. But this year we didn't have a heavy frost, and our mulberry trees have mulberries on them, and our peach trees have peaches on them. Liz said, may I add you as a mod for my live chat? Oh, gotcha. Yeah, Mother Many Horses said, I have to find out if there's such a thing as a mobile butcher in Kentucky. We love our mobile butcher. If you want to see the ultimate mobile butcher, go to farmsteadmeatsmith.com. He's one of the few people that I subscribe to and actually pay a monthly fee to be part of his network. But he has brilliant, if you want to know how to butcher a pig, he's the one who taught me how to butcher a pig years ago, and it translates over into other large animals. He has amazing shows, amazing classes, and we actually got to see him in person in Utah, and he butchered a pig and then turned it all into charcuterie, and it was amazing. So farmsteadmeatsmith.com. He's, oh my gosh, I can't say enough good things about him. Okay, Lonnie. Oh, hey, Lonnie. So vegetable garden question from Crazy Friend in Idaho. Okay, how far down do I need to go? Oh my goodness, I didn't realize. Let's see. Tyler Wood said, I would choose to be a pet owner, and butchering a Jersey cow would probably be the end of me. I have butchered a dozen chickens, but that's different. Yeah, I think those mamas, I really struggle when I have to butcher a chicken that's been with me for several years because she's getting old. Even just putting it, we had to put a rooster down once that he had got hurt really bad defending the flock, and I sobbed when we had to put him down because he was in so much pain. He was suffering. And I just sobbed because he had given his life for these chickens. It tears me up thinking about it. These animals, some of these parent animals that you have on your property that you do allow yourself to get attached to, are family, and it's really rough. Lonnie.com said, I need a chicken manure mix that won't burn plants. You're going to have to compost it like crazy and add tons of carbon. What you can do is layer it with lots and lots and lots of carbon, and then keep it wet, like not like soaking wet, but like allow it to get wet and then turn it and put more carbon in and then allow it to get wet and turn it. If it's too dry, it won't compost right, but you need a lot of fine carbon things like wood chips or straw, and keep it somewhat moist and keep it turned. I just got worm castings from somebody that were really amazing. I don't remember if I did the video on it yet. It's like snakeriverwormfarm.com, and they sent me with some amazing fertilizer that I just put on the garden. So Ellen Brown said, I want to start homesteading. Any advice? Grow what you actually like to eat and start small. Mother Many Horses said, I always cried when I butchered the chickens. Yes, if I'm butchering roosters that have been like evil to my hens, I don't cry. But if I have to butcher hens, I cry. I cry, and I don't actually kill them. Can I admit that? I have John go out and do the actual dispatching, and then I do the butchering once they're already gone, because it's damaging to me spiritually to butcher my hens. Not so much John, because he wasn't doing as many of the chores, he wasn't as connected to them, but for me it was really, really hard. Really, really, really hard. Alan Brown said, what is the best state for homesteading? I don't think there is a best state. It kind of depends on where you want to be, what kind of climate you're used to. I gardened and homesteaded in Oklahoma, and I really liked it there, but I really missed Idaho just because this is my home. So homestead where you are. Also, I don't think you should be going out and buying 12 acres. If you don't know if you like to garden, why get into such a large investment and time suck? It'll just suck the time right out of your life. And so if you can't grow a tiny little backyard garden and raise a couple rabbits, don't go investing in 12 acres thinking you're going to do it with cows, because cows are just harder, more expensive, more fencing, more aggravation, and you'll get hurt. So I would say start really small and then move up. And we have 1.5 acres, and right now we don't grow all of our own food because I'm not here all the time. But before we left to go on our road trip, I was growing, was there anything I wasn't growing? Like, I couldn't produce salt, and that was about it. We were growing enough food in our garden for the rabbits. We were growing enough, we had the pastures for the goats, so we were bringing in hay in the winter, but we only have like a third of an acre pasture that 6 goats are we keep it very healthy and keep it rotated and keep them on very small circles, but we really, like, all told, our pasture might be 1/2 acre, because so much of it is in other things, and trees and fruit trees and house and garden, and so you can do a lot with 1.5 acres. In my area, I feel really blessed. Hi, Kitty. What are you doing? Where are you? She sounds like she's in here, but she's not. Tyler Wood said, my grandpa had an agreement with his neighbor. They each butchered and ate the other's beef. Oh, that's a good agreement. I like that. What my renter and I do is that we actually trade milking when I'm here. I take night milking. She takes morning milking. I help with butchering when they need it. When they first got here, I taught them and helped them with all the butchering. but since then, they've kind of tried to take over and do it themselves. Christy Beth said, I've never butchered anything, but I need to know how so I can butcher for my family. Then go see Farmstead Meatsmith. He has all of his beautiful videos. He is the one who taught me confidence in butchering. I'd already been butchering for years, but as far as confidence in butchering and knowing that it's safe and knowing how to salt things and smoke things and preserve them the right way and cook them the right way, Farmstead Meatsmith is the place to go. He is amazing. I'm not affiliated with him, but even though I don't necessarily need the information anymore, I do pay him $10 a month for what he does because I think it's invaluable and it's something that people really need. And even though I don't need it for myself anymore, I want him to continue to be able to do what he's doing because it is important. Let's see. Do you and your family use any homeopathic medicine for allergies or sore throats, even sinus infections? Yes. So last year when the girls were in, or was it even this year? Maybe it was this year. This year when the girls were in public school, I was really worried about them getting sick because when my mom tried to have me in public school, I could never stay well. And so I'm not giving medical advice, but I'm telling you what my mom gave us. And she gave us kelp carb. And we took a daily dose of it. And what ended up happening was that something changed in our immune systems, and we haven't gotten sick very often anymore after we were on it for about 6 months. So I'm not giving advice, not medical advice, but I will tell you that I have had situations. My mom is very good with homeopathics, and she does a lot of research, and I've had some major health scares where I thought I was going to have to go to the hospital when I got into something I was allergic to. And she gave me the homeopathics, tried some different ones, and when we found the right one, it turned off my reaction like that. Like, drop of a hat. 1 minute I thought I was going to die. Mom, you need to take me to the hospital. The next minute I'm like, I think I'm okay. And so I have a lot of faith in homeopathics if you do it the right way. But that being said, I cannot give medical advice or any kind of advice for you and your family. It's something that you kind of have to do your own studying on. My mom loves Joette. The name of the institute that my mom learned in was Joette, and it was very expensive for her to learn how to do it. But what she's been able to do with it for my family has been amazing. She had tried homeopathics a long time ago, and it had not worked. So the way that you use it is really, really, really important. Certain remedies only work a certain way. And if you don't do it the right way, you can actually exacerbate things. If you take the remedies for too long, if you get cured by the remedies but you keep taking them, it can actually turn your whatever you have a hard time with, turn it back on. And so it's really it is like very much like medicine in that if you don't know what you're doing, you can cause as much, probably not as much harm as pharmaceuticals, but you can cause harm. So do your research, right? What's happening? Smallwood Homestead said, when we did a pig share with friends when I was a kid. That is awesome. We did that, again, before we left, we would do that. The neighbors would buy the pig. The other neighbor would purchase all the feed, and I would do all the work in the winter. And so I would raise the pigs in the winter. I would cook the feed, take it to the pigs, and in exchange, they would buy my pig. So they would put all the money into it. I would put all the work into it, and we would have a pig about every 3 to 6 months. Was it every 3 months? Every time we butchered a pig, we brought something else on. So when we butcher a pig, we'd bring in lambs. When we butchered a lamb, we'd bring in a pig. And so we'd have a couple lambs that we'd butcher every year and a couple pigs that we'd butcher every year. And I would do the work on them. Carol Falconer... Thanks, honey. Carol Falconer said, I've observed animals prior to butchering. Makes me sick to see the fear in their eyes. They know what's coming, no question about it. Okay, so that is not true. When you do a mobile butcher and the mobile butcher comes out, that is not true. They don't know what's coming. We have, and when I butcher, they don't know what's coming. What I do is I'll face them away from me, and I'll have their collar and 2 ropes coming out from each side of the collar between 2 stakes. And they'll be facing one direction, and I'll be behind them, and so I'll shoot them in the head from the back. And so they don't know what's happening. And then I'll nick them, and they'll bleed out. And then the same thing goes for when we have a mobile butcher. They come out and they have a 22 is all they use. The animal is out grazing in the pasture. We maybe give them a little bit of grain so they'll put their head down. The butcher shoots them in the head and they drop and they're gone. We have had a couple accidents where, well, not even a couple. It only happened once. We had once where the shoot was off the mark and the lamb did not die because it bounced, the bullet bounced, but it's only happened once in, how old am I? I'm 38. We started raising animals when I was 12, so it's been, what, 26 years, and that's the only time that ever happened. Sometimes they feel fear, but usually, if you're careful, if you set things up and you're really intentional about the way you set them up, you can eliminate a lot of that fear. Hey Jerry, how are ya? Yeah, exactly. Barry Hollingshad said it's quite normal for goats to get bloat even in the wild, and goats die with no one knowing. It's very true. It is a natural phenomenon. Horses, cows, sheep, they all get it. Hey Danny, how are ya? Let's see. Oh my goodness, how far up am I? Julie Button said, if you put the hide in with the little one, will that help her? No, definitely not. It will attract flies, and it will traumatize her if she can smell her mom on this thing that is no longer alive. It would definitely be a bad idea to do that. That particular goat that you hear right now is always loud anyway. Even when she can see her mom and she's out with her mom, she cries a lot. But right now, that is why she's crying, is because she misses her mom. Hello, Marlene Nelson. Hi, all the way from South Africa. We lived off-grid on our farm until we sold, loved the life, but now live in the city, which I so detest. Love your chats. Oh, thank you so much. Liz said, I was in a UK self-sufficiency group yesterday talking about scything, and I referred them to your scything video. Oh, thank you. I'm trying to find some that I can put in our store. I wish I could talk about them more than I do, but you've seen one scythe video, generally pretty much you've seen them all, but I would like to offer them in my store because I believe in them. I am trying to move away from doing quite so many daily videos and instead do more videos that I haven't made before. I have so many videos out there, it's really hard for me to go and remake stuff that I haven't improved on or that I don't have anything really to showcase. So I feel like I really want to kind of dig down, do fewer videos and have them be more information, higher quality. That's kind of how I feel. I can't figure out how to get down. Hey, Tony Klein. Thank you for your kindness. My goodness, how far up? Claudia Nutgrass said, I don't have the money to pay someone, so I cut the meat up the best I can. My goodness. Okay, I'm going to skip down. If I miss anybody's question, say it again, because I'm going to skip down. I don't know how far up I am. Let's see. Farm All Fanatic said, I was in college with a guy that didn't know milk came from cows. He was a star football player from the city. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Mother Many Horses said, yes, they are. I have been through a chicken and poultry slaughterhouse. Very fast-paced and not cool to be in if you don't like seeing guts. Robin South said, when I started, something about when I started. I missed it until somebody else's comment comes up. I'm going to have to touch it or just sit here and talk to myself. There we go. When I started in nursing, I had never been to a funeral, cried watching my first patient die, but some things are worse than death. Yes, and I think it gives us some humility when we're around life processes. I think it helps us be more sensitive to our relationships and to life, and to know that we have a short time, a short time. I'm really protective of my kids after I butcher because I get to see that fine line between life and death. Let's see. Sunny DIY said Tyler would still have emotions and bonds, but also have their different instincts, special needs for their species, if you will. Don't understand those needs and get hurt like when babied too much. I agree. agree. Okay, I'm missing something. Okay, guys, I missed something. What were you guys saying? Then again, overbabying makes human kids pretty bad too, lol. Yeah. I don't know how to turn you into a moderator, guys. I wish I did, and I don't know what somebody's saying that's making it so that you feel like you need to moderate. I'm sorry. I just can't see things very well. Little Shepherd Farm, when you're inside a poultry slaughterhouse for just a few minutes and you leave, you feel really greasy. That grossed me out more than seeing them butcher the chickens and turkeys. Interesting. Andy's Pantries, hello, hello, how are you? So, if you guys don't have any more questions, I have, let's see, I'll show you my bobbin that I've been making. That's the bobbin I'm making, and this is the wool I'm using. And if you guys have been watching on weekends, we've been doing the pepper prepper videos. I feel like those are really pertinent. I am tired of doing videos by myself, if you've noticed. Most of the videos that you see anymore, I'm on the Honeydew Carpenter. I'm on with Catherine from Little Bits of Heaven homestead.com. And so I get a little lonely in my videos, and I feel like I've already shared all my information with you, so it's so fun to have other people on. If you noticed, Farm Alarm, they are the channel that has the little school bus that they live in off-grid. Go check out their channel. And I just get lonely, and I get tired of having my own ideas running through my head and want to work with somebody else. So you're going to see a lot of that, and hopefully you'll see fewer videos, but they'll be better. I'm really hoping. And I kind of feel like I'm done throwing money at projects. I'm going to build them the way that I build them and show kind of the rough and tumble that I put together. I'm really excited to do a hotbed greenhouse where the hotbed itself is the walls of the greenhouse. Gotcha. Thanks, Sunny. Lisa said I'll be here. Thank you. So, I think I've been on for an hour now. If you guys don't have any questions. Smallwood said you're welcome to come to Southern Illinois. My sister-in-law is actually moving to Iowa, and John is in Oklahoma, and he's looking around to try and find where else we want to be. My big struggle in life is leaving my garden, and it always is. Danny said, I'm contemplating getting a few chickens as pets, but I'm not that fond of chicken meat. Well, you don't have to eat them. They can just be pets. I've had chickens that I loved enough to keep as pets forever. Goats that I loved enough to keep forever. Whether or not they were productive. It's okay to do that, I think. So Terry Usher made a hello. I want ducks for eggs. More spinning videos for sure. So Karen, go over to Fiber Flirtations. I'm trying to get all my spinning videos up onto Fiber Flirtations. And then we're doing a lot of, we're trying so hard to do so many different things right now. We're trying to kind of split the channel up into multiple channels so that if you're interested in one particular thing, you can find only that instead of trying to root around through all my content. So Fiber Flirtations, Pepper Preppers, Natural Happy, all those are going to be coming up. We already have Facebook pages for all of those, and we're trying to get content. I am trying to put more blogs on so that I can show you some of my favorite